Every financial crisis has a warning sound, a faint rattle in the machinery before the explosion. Most people don't hear it or they convince themselves it's nothing. But a few individuals do feel the tremor, the shift in the air. And when they act on that instinct, history remembers them as lucky. When in reality they were simply awake. Today, the world is sleepwalking toward a moment that will test whether anyone can escape the system at all. To understand why, we need to go back almost a century to a man who sensed danger before it had a name. September 1929. A Manhattan businessman felt a strange pressure in his chest, the kind that tells you something is off long before numbers confirm it. The stock market had soared for years, everyone celebrating endless prosperity, yet beneath the glitter, something brittle was cracking. On a quiet Tuesday morning, trusting nothing but instinct, he walked into his local bank, opened his passbook, and withdrew every cent he owned. $12,000 in cash. Stuffed into a briefcase. 2 days later, on Thursday, the market didn't just slip, it imploded. The crash slammed across the country like a steel door. Banks failed, depositors screamed for their savings, lines wrapped around locked entrances. But he survived the shock because his money was already in his hands. Now imagine replaying that story in 2026. You sense danger, decide to follow the same survival script, and rush to protect your wealth before the crowd panics. You open your 401 dashboard, $180,000 saved across 2 decades. You click Withdraw. Instead of cash, a penalty calculator pops up. Federal tax, state tax, and that 10% early withdrawal punishment for daring to touch your own savings before hitting age 59 and a half. Your $180,000 shrinks to just under $100,000 before you even blink. And the blow keeps coming. Your withdrawal doesn't process instantly. It enters an administrative queue, 7 to 10 business days under ideal conditions. During a panic, those timelines stretch, freeze, or disappear entirely. Not because your bank is collapsing, but because modern finance was built specifically to stop you from doing what that man did in 1929, escape. This is the part almost no one talks about. The real difference between 1929 and 2026 isn't the size of the crash. It's the fact that when the next one hits, you won't be able to run. Your savings sit behind digital gates, time delays, legal penalties, algorithmic suspensions, doors that slam shut at the exact moment you try to leave. These mechanisms weren't accidental. They weren't even created for your protection. They were built to protect the system from you, from your natural instinct to save yourself. Back in 1929, the destruction came from speculation, easy leverage, and widespread debt. In 2026, the devastation will be driven by something much more sinister. Digital cages that prevent escape even for people who sense trouble early. To understand how dangerous this is, we need to look at something the old system had that we no longer do. Immediate access to your own money. A savings account in 1929 was beautifully simple. You walked in, showed your passbook, a small handwritten ledger, and the teller counted out cash from the drawer. No delays. No forms. No flags. If you wanted your entire balance, you got it the same day, often within the hour. Stock ownership worked the same way. You bought shares and received physical certificates with your name engraved on them, property you could hold. If you wanted to sell, you found a buyer or used a broker. Settlement took 3 predictable days. No trading halts. No digital locks. That meant anyone alert enough in late September 1929 had choices. They could sell their stocks, withdraw from banks, and move into cash or gold. Many tried. Some succeeded. The tragedy wasn't that the system held them hostage, it was that most didn't recognize the danger until it was too late. When the crash erupted on October 24th, those already in cash survived. Those who hesitated, who trusted reassurances or waited for a rebound, were wiped out. Their downfall came from their decisions, not from a system blocking their exit. Even margin calls were brutally straightforward. Borrow 90% of the purchase price on margin, stocks fall, brokers demand more cash. If you can't provide it, they liquidate your position immediately. Harsh but transparent. You always knew where you stood. Contrast that with today's world. Retirement accounts with penalties that lock your money until age 59 and a half. Banks that freeze large withdrawals under suspicious activity. Funds that can legally suspend redemptions when markets go wild. We're not facing a crash alone, we're facing a system designed to hold us in place during the crash. After 1929, Regulators didn't just try to stop future collapses, they tried to build a system where ordinary people couldn't trigger one by pulling their money. And they succeeded. The first cage appeared in 1978, the 401. Sold as a tax advantage, it ended up trapping over $7 trillion behind penalty walls. Yes, you put the money in, but accessing it? That's a different story. Taxes and penalties often burn 35–45% of a withdrawal. Then comes the second lock, time. Your request processes in 7–10 business days. During stress, weeks. During extreme volatility, suspended. In 2008, Fidelity froze some 401 withdrawals entirely. People logged in to see, temporarily unavailable. Their money was visible on the screen but unreachable. Banking titan 2. Try withdrawing $10,000 in cash. Forms. Delays. Federal reports. ATM limits of $500 to $1,000 per day make it physically impossible to withdraw meaningful money quickly. With $50,000 in checking, extracting it could take months. The crisis will be over long before you get your cash. Investment accounts are even worse. Liquidity depends on market makers. And when panic hits, liquidity vanishes. In March 2020, hundreds of ETFs traded at 10–20% discounts to what they actually held. Your $100,000 fund suddenly sold for $80,000, not because the assets fell, but because the market's plumbing broke. Mutual funds have explicit escape traps. SEC Rule 22 times 10 to the power of -4 allows them to suspend redemptions. Real estate funds did this in 2008–09 for up to 18 months. Private equity? 7-year lockups, no exceptions. Every one of these restrictions was defended as protecting investors, but the effect is the same. Your money is accessible only when the system is calm. During a storm, the doors lock. In 1929, an investor could grab cash and flee. In 2026, an investor hits withdraw and receives a spinning wheel, processing, pending review, temporarily suspended. By the time access is restored, the value they were trying to save may be gone. All of these traps exist right now inside every retirement plan, bank account, brokerage firm, and fund. They sit there quietly, unnoticed, until the moment everyone rushes to the exit at once. And 2026 is the year those traps turn lethal. Not because the rules changed, but because the world underneath them did. Unprecedented debt, invisible leverage, and algorithmic trading that reacts faster than fear itself. In 1929, 10:1 leverage was considered extreme. Regulators raised margins thinking they fixed the problem. But today's leverage lives in derivatives and structured products, 20:1, 50:1, sometimes more, hidden in places regulators barely understand. And unlike 1929, when humans shouted orders on a trading floor, now 70% of trading volume is algorithmic. Machines sell automatically when volatility spikes, when momentum breaks, when correlations shift. One algorithm triggers another. Then another. Selling cascades through the market in seconds, far faster than any human can react. We got a preview in March 2020. The S&P 500 collapsed 34% in 23 days, the fastest plunge into a bear market in history. Trading halted again and again as circuit breakers kicked in, compressing panic into tighter bursts and making each reopening even more violent. Now imagine that scene with every modern trap fully engaged. Your 401 falls 30% in 2 weeks. You request a withdrawal, willing to accept the 40% penalty. The request sits in processing, while markets drop another 20%. When it's finally approved, your balance is down 50% and penalties cut it again. Your $200,000 becomes $60,000, and that assumes the withdrawal isn't frozen entirely. In a crisis, administrators can legally suspend distributions. You'd watch your balance sink helpless. Banking isn't safer. In 1929, banks failed because they couldn't return cash fast enough. Today, reserves are larger but meaningless if digital pipes freeze. Fedwire, ACH, SWIFT, all have limits. They can jam. They have jammed. In September 2019, the repo rate spiked from 2% to 10% in one day during normal conditions. The Fed injected $75 billion to stop a freeze. And remember March 2023, Silicon Valley Bank collapsed in 36 hours. Depositors lost access for 4 days until a bridge bank was created. For companies with payroll due, that pause was fatal. Now multiply that across dozens of banks. The FDIC's $125 billion insurance fund cannot cover $10.5 trillion in deposits. If even a small percentage of banks fail together, the math falls apart. This is why 2026 is worse than 1929. Algorithms accelerate panic. Derivatives amplify leverage. Policy tools are exhausted. Rates already sit near 5%. Federal debt near $35 trillion. The Fed's balance sheet is bloated. And unlike 1929 when people could still run to cash or gold, today exits are sealed. Penalties, delays, digital gates, all engineered to keep savers inside during chaos. The 1929 crash took 4 years to bottom out because people could retreat. The 2026 crash will likely be sharper because they can't. The early signals are already here. Corporate insiders sold $16.2 billion in stock in late 2024, 4 times their usual rate. CEOs, CFOs, board members, people who see the real numbers first, are quietly getting liquid. Sovereign wealth funds are shifting too. Norway cut equity exposure by 18%, Abu Dhabi raised gold holdings to 2008 levels. These institutions don't panic, they reposition when long-term models flash red. Meanwhile, the US Treasury market, the backbone of global finance, is flashing warning lights. Liquidity thinned in October 2024. Bid-ask spreads widened. Large orders moved yields 15-20 basis points. That's the kind of fragility that appears before breaks. And yet media voices keep repeating the old chorus. The economy is strong. Earnings are solid. Valuations make sense. This time is different. It never is. By October 2025, the Shiller PE ratio reached 39, far above pre-crash levels in 1929 and 2000. The yield curve has been inverted since July 2022, now over 39 months, the longest in modern history. Every recession in 70 years was preceded by inversion. We're deep beyond the usual window. Here's the danger. All these warning signs are flashing while the full trap architecture is live. Insiders, sovereign funds, institutions are quietly repositioning. The everyday investor, the person with a 401 in savings, is being told to stay the course. They are becoming exit liquidity for the smart money heading out the side door. History doesn't repeat, but its patterns are loud. 1929 was the mathematical result of leverage and denial. 2026 will rhyme with one difference. You won't be allowed to act like the survivors of the past. You can't walk into a bank and withdraw your savings. You can't sell freely without penalties, delays, or freezes. You're operating inside a system designed to prevent mass exit. The man in 1929 survived because he acted early and the system let him. No penalties. No delays. No digital gatekeepers. You don't have that luxury, but you still have choices. You can shift new savings to liquid accounts. You can build cash outside the retirement system. You can watch what insiders do, not what they say. You can protect capital instead of chasing the last bit of upside. Most won't. They'll trust the system. They'll believe the reassurances. They'll assume AI and central banks can defeat economic cycles. Every era believes it has outsmarted history. Every era is wrong. People who survive aren't the smartest, they're the ones who see the pattern early and act before the crowd. Right now the warning lights are blazing. The traps are set. Insiders are leaving quietly. The question isn't whether a crash is coming. The question is whether you'll be locked behind digital gates, watching your wealth fade from a number on a screen, or positioned outside the cage before it seals. Your grandfather could run in 1929. You can't. But you can still prepare. And the window is closing fast.